My friends, we are here today to talk about something profound, something that stirs the heart and awakens the soul, the power of standing in your truth, unshaken in the face of those who seek to diminish you. We're here to talk about a single sentence, not just any sentence, but one that carries the weight of your courage, the clarity of your boundaries, and the unshakable strength of your self-worth. This is a sentence that, when spoken from the depths of your being, can make a narcissist, a person who thrives on control, manipulation, and the erosion of others' light, tremble. Not because it's cruel or vengeful, but because it is rooted in a truth so radiant, so unapologetic, that it disrupts the very foundation of their world. Let me take you back to a moment in my life, a moment that felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss of someone else's need to dominate. I was younger then, less certain of my own voice, and caught in the orbit of someone whose charm was a mask for their need to control. Their words were sharp, designed to make me question my worth, my choices, my very existence. I remember the weight of their gaze, the way it seemed to demand my compliance, my silence. And yet, in that moment, something stirred within me, a quiet, flickering ember of defiance, a whisper that said, "You are enough." That whisper became the seed of the sentence we're here to uncover today. What is a narcissist, really? They are not monsters hiding in the shadows. They are people, complex, wounded, and often deeply insecure, who have built a fortress of grandiosity to protect themselves from their own pain. They feed on attention, on power, on the ability to make others feel small so they can feel large. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Their power is an illusion, a house of cards built on the fragile foundation of external validation. And when you refuse to play their game, when you step out of their script and into your own story, you become their greatest fear. This speech isn't about defeating a narcissist in some grand showdown. It's not about outsmarting them or proving them wrong. No, this is about something far more powerful, reclaiming your own narrative. It's about recognizing that the only person who can define your worth is you. And when you stand in that truth, when you speak it with clarity and conviction, you wield a kind of power that no amount of manipulation can touch. That's what this one sentence is about. It's a declaration of your sovereignty, a line in the sand that says, "I see you, but I choose me." Let's pause for a moment and breathe. Feel the air moving through you, grounding you in this moment, because what we're talking about requires courage. The kind of courage that doesn't roar but whispers. The kind that shows up in the quiet moments when you choose to honor yourself. Narcissists thrive on chaos, on emotional entanglement, on pulling you into their storms. But when you step back, when you choose calm over conflict, you disrupt their game. You become untouchable, not because you're invulnerable, but because you've chosen to anchor yourself in something they cannot control. Your own truth. I want to share a story about a woman I once knew, someone I'll call Sarah. Sarah was vibrant, full of light, but she found herself caught in the web of a narcissistic partner. He was charming at first, showering her with affection, but slowly, insidiously, he began to chip away at her confidence. He'd criticize her dreams, dismiss her feelings, and twist her words until she doubted her own reality. Sarah felt like she was shrinking, like her spirit was being suffocated. But one day, after months of silence, she found her voice. She looked at him and said, "I am not here to feed your ego. I am here to live my truth." That was her sentence. And in that moment, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear. Why did those words strike such a chord? Because they weren't about him. They weren't an attack or a plea for his approval. They were about her truth, her boundaries, her refusal to be diminished. Narcissists rely on your emotional investment in their narrative. They need you to argue, to plead, to chase their approval. But when you step out of that cycle, when you speak a truth that centers you, you become a mirror they cannot bear to look into. You reflect their fragility, their dependence on your compliance. And that, my friends, is what makes them afraid. Let's talk about what it means to find that sentence, that one declaration that anchors you in your power. It's not a one-size-fits-all phrase. It's not something you can borrow from someone else's story. Your sentence is born from your journey, your pain, your triumphs, your quiet moments of resilience. It's the culmination of every time you chose to keep going, every time you refused to let someone else's darkness extinguish your light. For some, it might be, I am enough. For others, it might be, my worth is not up for debate. Whatever it is, it must come from your core, from the place where your truth lives. Finding that sentence requires you to do the work of knowing yourself. And let me be honest, that work is not easy. It asks you to sit with your wounds, to face the parts of you that feel unlovable, unworthy, or afraid. It asks you to unravel the stories you've been told about who you are and to write a new one that honors your inherent worth. But oh, the freedom that comes with that work. The moment you realize that your value is not contingent on someone else's approval, you step into a kind of power that is unshakable. I remember the first time I spoke my own sentence. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, almost a whisper, spoken in a moment of clarity after years of trying to please someone who could never be satisfied. I choose my peace over your chaos, I said. And in that moment, I felt a shift, like a weight lifting from my chest. The person I was speaking to didn't change. They never do. But I changed. I stopped seeking their validation. I stopped letting their words define me. And that, my friends, is the power of your sentence. It's not about changing them. It's about freeing you. But let's talk about why narcissists fear this kind of power. They fear it because it exposes their greatest vulnerability, their dependence on others to feel whole. A narcissist's sense of self is built on external validation, on your admiration, your compliance, your willingness to play their game. When you refuse to participate, when you speak a truth that centers your own worth, you pull the rug out from under their carefully constructed facade. You show them that their power is borrowed, not inherent. And that terrifies them. But here's the thing. This isn't about cruelty or revenge. It's not about making someone else feel small so you can feel big. That's their game, not ours. This is about stepping into your own light, about choosing to live authentically even when it's hard. It's about recognizing that the only person you need to please is yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that honors the unique, beautiful, imperfect human you are. I want to invite you to think about the narcissists in your own life. They might be a partner, a parent, a friend, a boss. They might be someone whose approval you've chased, whose criticism has lingered in your heart. And I want to ask you, what would it feel like to let go of their hold on you? What would it feel like to speak a truth so clear, so grounded in your worth, that their power over you dissolves? That's what this sentence is about. It's a key to your freedom, a doorway to a life where you are the author of your own story. Let's talk about the anatomy of this sentence. It's not just words. It's a vibration, a frequency of self-love and clarity. It's a sentence that says, I see you, but I am not defined by you. It's a sentence that sets a boundary without malice, that claims your space without apology. It might be spoken aloud, or it might be a quiet vow you make to yourself. Either way, it carries the power of your intention, your refusal to be anything less than whole. I want to share another story, this time about a man named James. James worked for a boss who thrived on belittling others. Every meeting was a stage for this boss to assert his dominance, to point out flaws, to demand loyalty. James, who was brilliant and kind, felt himself shrinking under this constant scrutiny. But one day, after a particularly harsh critique, James stood up, looked his boss in the eye, and said, "I respect your opinion, but I trust my own path." Those words weren't loud, but they were steady. And in that moment, the dynamic shifted. The boss, caught off guard, had no response. James had claimed his power not by fighting, but by standing in his truth. What James did was revolutionary in its simplicity. He didn't engage in a power struggle. He didn't try to prove his worth. He simply stated his truth and let it stand. That's the beauty of your sentence. It doesn't need to be defended or explained. It is enough because you are enough. And when you speak from that place, you create a ripple effect, a shift in energy that changes the way others interact with you. Let's talk about the fear that might come up when you think about speaking this sentence. Because let's be real. Standing up to a narcissist, even in the quietest way, can feel terrifying. They've spent so much time conditioning you to doubt yourself, to fear their disapproval. But here's the truth. That fear is a sign that you're on the right path. It's a sign that you're stepping into your power, that you're reclaiming the parts of yourself they tried to take. And the more you practice standing in your truth, the less that fear will hold you. I want to acknowledge something important. Not every situation with a narcissist is safe. There are times when speaking your truth might put you at risk, emotionally, physically, or otherwise. And if that's your reality, I want you to know that your sentence doesn't have to be spoken aloud to be powerful. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to hold that truth in your heart, to let it guide your choices, to let it remind you of your worth until you're in a place where you can safely express it. Your safety matters, your well-being matters, and your truth is no less powerful because it's unspoken for now. Let's talk about the aftermath of speaking your sentence, because it's not a magic wand that makes the narcissist disappear, change their ways. They might push back, manipulate, or try to pull you back into their game. But here's the difference. Once you've spoken your truth, once you've claimed your power, their tactics lose their grip. You've shifted the dynamic, not because you've changed them, but because you've changed how you engage with them. You've chosen yourself, and that choice is irrevocable. I want to share a moment from my own life, a moment that taught me the enduring power of this sentence. Years ago, I was in a friendship that drained me. My friend was charismatic, but their need for control was suffocating. They'd guilt me into prioritizing their needs, dismiss my feelings, and make me feel like I was never enough. One day, after a particularly hurtful conversation, I said, "I love you, but I'm done shrinking to make you feel big." Those words came from a place of pain, but also clarity. And while the friendship didn't survive, I did. I walked away stronger, more certain of my worth. That moment taught me something profound. Your sentence isn't just about the narcissist. It's about you. It's about the promise you make to yourself to live authentically, to honor your boundaries, to choose your peace. And that promise is a lifelong one. It's a commitment to show up for yourself. Even when it's hard, even when the world tries to pull you back into old patterns. Let's talk about the ripple effect of this commitment. When you stand in your truth, you don't just free yourself, you inspire others. You become a beacon for those who are still finding their voice, still searching for their sentence. You show them that it's possible to break free from the chains of someone else's need to control. You show them that their worth is not up for debate, that their light is meant to shine. I want to invite you to imagine a world where we all spoke our truth, where we all stood in our power, unafraid of those who try to diminish us. what would that world look like? It would be a world of connection, of authenticity, of mutual respect. It would be a world where no one's light is dimmed to make someone else feel bright. And while we may not change the world overnight, we can start with ourselves. We can start with one sentence, one truth, one moment of courage. Let's talk about how to cultivate that courage, because it's not something you're born with. It's something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. It's built in the quiet moments, when you choose to listen to your intuition, when you honor your feelings, when you say no to what doesn't serve you. It's built in the messy moments, when you stumble, when you doubt yourself, but choose to keep going anyway. Courage is a muscle, and every time you use it, it grows stronger. I want to share a story about a young woman named Maya, someone I met at a workshop years ago. Maya grew up with a parent who was narcissistic, someone who demanded perfection and punished anything less. Maya spent her life trying to please them, but it was never enough. One day she came to me in tears, saying she felt like she was disappearing. We worked together to find her sentence, and after weeks of reflection, she landed on, "I am worthy just as I am." She wrote it down, carried it with her, and eventually spoke it to her parent. It didn't change them, but it changed her. She began to live differently, to make choices that honored her worth. And that, my friends, is the power of your sentence. It's a lifeline to your true self. Let's talk about the role of self-compassion in this journey, because speaking your truth, especially in the face of a narcissist, requires you to be kind to yourself. It requires you to forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long, for the times you doubted your worth, for the times you let their words sink in. Self-compassion is the soil in which your courage grows. It's the reminder that you are human, that you are doing the best you can, and that your best is enough. I want to acknowledge the pain that often comes with this work. Confronting a narcissist, whether it's through words or simply by choosing to walk away, can bring up grief, anger, and a sense of loss. You might grieve the relationship you wished you had, the love you hoped they'd give, and that grief is valid. It's part of the process of letting go, of making space for something new. Allow yourself to feel it, to honor it, to let it move through you, because on the other side of that pain is freedom. Let's talk about what that freedom looks like. It's not a life without challenges or pain. It's not a life where you never doubt yourself or face criticism, but it's a life where you know who you are, where you trust your own voice, where you refuse to let anyone else write your story. It's a life where your sentence, your truth, becomes a guiding star, a reminder of your power, your worth, your light. I want to share one final story about a man named David. David was in a toxic work environment led by a manager who thrived on pitting people against each other. David was exhausted, his confidence eroded by constant manipulation. One day during a team meeting, his manager tried to humiliate him in front of everyone. David took a deep breath and said, "I'm here to do my best, not to play your games." The room went silent. His manager, flustered, moved on, and while the workplace didn't magically change, David did. He began to set boundaries, to prioritize his well-being, and eventually he found a new job where his contributions were valued. David's story reminds us that your sentence isn't just a moment, it's a practice. It's something you return to again and again as you navigate the complexities of life. It's a touchstone, a reminder of who you are when the world tries to pull you off course. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, until standing in your truth is as instinctive as breathing. Let's talk about the legacy of this practice, because when you choose to live authentically, when you speak your truth, you're not just changing your own life, you're changing the world. You're showing others what's possible, teaching them that they too can claim their power. You're breaking cycles of pain and control, creating space for healing, for connection, for love. Your sentence becomes a gift, not just to yourself, but to everyone whose life you touch. I want to invite you to reflect on your own sentence. What is it? What truth lives in your heart, waiting to be spoken? It might be a whisper right now, a faint outline of something you're still discovering. That's okay. Give it time, give it space, give it love. Your sentence is there, waiting for you to claim it. And when you do, it will carry you through the moments when you feel small, when you doubt yourself, when the world feels heavy. Let's talk about the courage it takes to claim that sentence. Because it's not just about saying the words, it's about living them. It's about showing up as your full, authentic self, even when it's scary, even when it's messy. It's about choosing to believe in your worth, even when someone else tries to tell you otherwise. That courage is already inside you, waiting to be unleashed. And when you tap into it, you become unstoppable. I want to acknowledge the beauty of this journey. Because while it's hard, while it asks you to face your fears and your pain, it's also profoundly beautiful. It's the journey of becoming who you were always meant to be, a person who shines, who loves, who lives with purpose and passion. Your sentence is a part of that journey, a milestone on the path to your truest self. Let's talk about the power of community in this work. Because while your sentence is yours, you don't have to walk this path alone. Surround yourself with people who see your light, who honor your truth, who remind you of your worth when you forget. Find your tribe, your safe space, your circle of love. They will hold you up when you stumble, cheer you on when you soar, and remind you that you are never alone. I want to share a moment that still brings tears to my eyes. A few years ago, I was at a gathering where people were sharing their stories of healing. One woman stood up, her voice trembling, and said, "I told my narcissistic mother, I am not your mirror. I am my own light." And for the first time, I felt free. The room erupted in applause, not because she had defeated her mother, but because she had claimed herself. That moment was a reminder that our sentences, our truths, are not just personal. They are universal. They connect us. They inspire us. They remind us of our shared humanity. Let's talk about the hope that lives in this work. Because even in the face of pain, even in the shadow of someone else's need to control, there is hope. There is the hope of healing, of growth, of a life where you are free to be yourself. Your sentence is a spark of that hope, a reminder that no matter what you've been through, you have the power to choose a different path, to write a different story. I want to invite you to carry this with you as you leave this space. Carry your sentence, your truth, your courage. Carry the knowledge that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are a force of light and love. And when you face a narcissist or anyone who tries to dim your shine, remember that you have a sentence, a truth that can make them tremble. Not because it's cruel, but because it's true. Not because it's loud, but because it's yours. Let's end with a promise to ourselves and to each other. Let's promise to keep showing up, to keep speaking our truth, to keep choosing our light. Let's promise to honor our worth, to set boundaries with love, to live authentically no matter what. And let's promise to hold space for each other, to lift each other up, to remind each other of the power we carry within. My friends, you are not here to shrink, to please, or to play small. You are here to shine, to love, to live boldly and beautifully. And when you speak your sentence, when you stand in your truth, you become a force that no narcissist, no critic, no doubt can touch. So find your sentence, speak it, live it, and watch as it changes everything. Thank you for being here, for showing up, for choosing to live with courage and heart. You are enough. You are worthy, and you are unstoppable. This speech is designed to be emotionally resonant, empowering, and reflective with a tone that invites vulnerability and courage. It uses storytelling, reflection, and calls to action to engage the audience while staying true to the theme of a single powerful sentence that reclaims personal power in the face of narcissistic behavior.